Hello everybody, and welcome back to the last video in the series on the rebuild of this Gardner 6 LXB. Now, at the end of the last video, we'd fully assembled the engine as far as we could prior to test run. We now have moved it outside because thankfully the weather here in the UK has stopped raining for 5 minutes to be able to do so. We've hooked it up to a water system. The fuel is connected, but we haven't bled the fuel system up yet. You can also see we filled the engine with oil. It goes in through the filler here, but we've put it in through the top, so everything in the top end has had a good dosing of oil ready to lubricate it for startup. So our first job is going to be to try and get some oil pressure. Right, so we're just going to spin the engine up to see if we can get some oil pressure. The engine is currently decompressed, and I haven't primed the fuel system, so it won't start. But we can get oil pressure up, make sure we've got that before we attempt to run it. There we go, up to oil pressure with it on the starter motor, so now we'll bleed the fuel system. So now we've got oil pressure, the next job is to prime up the fuel system. So priming lever on the ammo pump. If you get no feel there, it probably means that the cam in the cam box is in the position that's holding the lift pump right up. So if you turn the engine over a bit, you should get the lever to start working. There's then a bleed point here to get fuel up to the filter, and then bleed screws on the front of each pumps. Now later LXBs have different pump arrangement than this, but yeah, these are, on this engine, this is where you bleed the fuel at the pumps. So we get the fuel bled up now, and what we're looking for here is a good flow of diesel without any air in it, which we've got there, so that's fine. And we'll go, we'd go along the rest of these to do that, but we'll do that off camera. So next thing we're going to do is prime it up to the injectors. Now you can just pull away on these levers and you'll hear them eventually start to inject in there, but what we've done is we've left all of the injector lines loose at this end, so we'll prime them until we see diesel there. It's just a bit easier going, that's all. So we're now ready to give it a go at starting. So as I said in the very first video where we were trying to start this, the cold start for this engine is under here. Now it's 20 degrees here today, so although this engine hasn't been run, we probably don't need this. So we'll see whether we can get it to go. So we're now all ready for a start. The cooling system is full. We've bled fuel up through to the injectors. We've checked that we've got oil pressure without starting it, so the engine is now not on the cold start setting, but just normal rack, and the engine is compressed, so we'll give it a go and see if it starts. So we had good oil flow to the rockers, so we'll get the rocker covers bolted on before we carry on with the test run. So we've had the engine running for about an hour and a half. It's up to temperature. So we adjusted the oil pressure so it is 35 psi with the engine at 1000 RPM. We have also fitted the belts for the fan and air compressor, so we can do a quick start up and check that that is all okay. If that is all fine, the only thing we've got left to do is to refit the alternator. So for those who watched the earlier video when the engine came in, it took a very, very long time to get oil pressure. So what we'll do now is go for a start. The engine's been sat since yesterday, and we'll see how quickly the oil pressure comes up when it's been sat 24 hours for all the oil to drain down. So that's us all finished with test running the engine. It's gone really well. No leaks or anything that we've needed to deal with. We've got one last job to do, which we'll do once it's all stripped of its test run equipment, before it goes back to the owner, which is to fit the alternator. But we're all done. So we hope you've enjoyed watching this series. And as it's the first series we've followed through on the whole build of an engine, we'd be interested in knowing your comments, what you've liked, not liked, would like to see more of, less of. So keep an eye on the channel and see what we've got coming up next. It may or may not be another Gardner. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.